Hey Ben, this is your tutorial for how to make terrain in Unity. Eventually I am going to build a terrain generator in Unity so that it's all edited and done in Unity as a tool. But for now, up until early access and probably a little bit afterwards, we're going to just use this method, and it works out pretty good. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the right tab. Okay, you're going to want to go to planetside.co.uk. I'm not sure if you've ever used this or not, but if not, that's fine. Go to planetside.co.uk and make sure that you get you go to this one right here. Like, you can type it into Google, TerraGen, and go to TerraGen Classic. Now, TerraGen 3 is their newest one, and it's super awesome. I mean, it's the most detailed terrain generator in existence right now, and it makes like stuff, like real stuff, look like this. Weather, lighting, erosion, it's crazy. Anyways, just get the classic one, and when you're done, open it up and it should look something like this, except for it won't have a picture here. The reason that we're going to use this one is because it's just the easiest one to use. It's just really straightforward, and it makes terrain the way we want to make terrain rather than doing it manually. So the first thing you want to do is go to generate terrain, and this thing's going to pop up. So you have a few options. These are algorithms. Like Perlin Noise, for example, basically makes terrain that looks like the terrain in WoW. So it's basically like bubbly hills, like those round mound-like hills. It does look like they give you a few options. This is like the Perlin origin. This is like a random algorithm. It's not really random. It's based off of position. I'm not really sure you can change. Yeah, use random origin each time. So if I use like 0, 0, for example, and you look over here and I hit generate terrain, if I hit generate terrain, it's the same terrain. But let's say my terrain is going to be 513 by 513. If I go over 513 on the X, I hit generate terrain, this side would match up with the right side of the previous one. It's basically like an infinite amount of like terrain that you can use. But you can actually like set origins. I'm actually going to do that. I was going to have you go into Photoshop and split it 4 ways, copy it over, and use 4 different terrain objects. But instead, I'm going to see if this works. We'll do it together, see if it works. Because if it does, it'd be pretty awesome. Just as an FYI, the first thing you want to do is go to size and make sure you go to 513, which is the largest size you can do. It's always going to be 1 pixel more than a power of 2. That's how height maps work. Anyways, go back to generate terrain, generate. Oh, it's on random. Make sure you're on 0, 0 for the first one. Hit generate terrain. You have these other options here. You have realism, smoothing, glaciation, and canyonism. Realism and smoothing is not an option in Perlin Noise. Glaciation and canyonism. Glaciation is basically like the erosion marks that you get from like water flowing down a mountain. So you get like those ridges. And then canyonism it's canyons. It's cliffs and canyons like that. Or basically you get like mountains that are close enough together where you have like that pathway, that valley pathway. And then you have min and max size. And what this is basically the values of white and black there are. So with max, you're going to have things that are a lot closer to white. White is going to be the highest value. And then if you go to minimum, things are going to be a little bit more dark. Let's see. You go to minimum here, and you hit generate. See how it's like... Actually, wait. No, never mind. I know what this is now. This is like how big the height map, or like how wide and tall the height map is. Let's just stick to the middle. No. We want to go... Let's go like right... about this size, because we're going to make 4 of these. Each one of these would be a mountain in the game, and it would be a very large mountain. So you can imagine how big this map would be. Approximately 1,024 units by 1,024 units, which, yeah, that's about right. Anyways, so hit generate terrain on that one. When you're done, go up to export, raw 8 bits, select file and save. Here's going to be a good way to do it, the naming convention. You can do test height map 0, 0. That means it's going to be the first bottom left terrain object. And hit save. Then go back to generate terrain again. go over 513 on the X, hit generate terrain. You're going to get the one that goes on the X, export, same thing, but this time it's not 0, 1, it's 1, 0. If you can see the pattern, this is the X, Y value, kind of like in algebra. Hit save. And then we're going to go back up to generate terrain again. We're going to go 513 up, hit generate terrain, export, select file and save. This one will be 1, 1, meaning it's the top right. And then one more time, but this time X will be 0, Y will be 513. And I haven't done it this way before, so I don't know if it's going to like work out very well. But there you go. And then we're going to go ahead and export it, file save. This time it will be 0, 1, save. Now I'm just going to go straight to Unity to see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and delete this object here. So the best way to do this for right now is to right click over here in the space and create an empty object. Over here is its position in world space. So basically like in Unreal it's your X, Y, and Z. Just zero them out so it's in the middle of nowhere. If you want to find it, select in the hierarchy here and then like tap F twice and it's there. If you hit W, which is for translator moving around, you can see it there. Go ahead and rename this terrain. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to right click on terrain and create another empty game object. What this does is it basically creates a prefab, just like in Unreal, except for this is the child of terrain. We're going to go ahead and name this terrain, guess, 0, 0. Actually, no, I'm not doing that. Get rid of that. I'm wrong. You're going to right click on here, you go to 3D object, terrain, and it's going to create a terrain object. We're going to go, so we're going to name this terrain 0, 0. Now, this is a little bit tricky because terrain works a little bit differently than it works a little bit differently than other objects. The pivot point of terrain is going to be on the bottom left, kind of like a texture. So this is your 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and then 0, 1. So we're going to go ahead and make this is terrain 0, 0. So we're going to go to this little gearbox here, and the terrain width and length. So this is basically width and length is 500 apiece. So if we want this to be, if we want, like for example, see like the pivot point of the parent objects down here. If we want this to be at the bottom left, so like down and to the left, you need to go to terrain 0, 0 and you need to subtract by 500 on both the X and the Z. Now the pivot point is right there for the parent. The pivot point for the child is still down on the bottom left, and that's fine. So it's up there. Now we're going to create another terrain object. This time we're just going to hit Control D while it's like select in the hierarchy and hit Control D and it copies it. Go ahead and change the name to terrain 0 or 1, 0. Then all you got to do is get 0 out this X negative 500. So now now you have two terrain objects, one to the left and one to the right, but down as well. And we will do this 2 more times, but this one will be 1, 1. It will end up where the original one it was, and we'll duplicate this one. This one will be 0, 1, and we will make it negative 500x. So now we have our 4 terrain objects for our 4 height map textures. This is important because this makes our map larger, but it also makes it look more real. If you were to use one terrain object and put one height map on it, it would look weird because you would have like this square, and like the thing is, like, you could use a height map that has more mountains and valleys, but it's just not going to look as high resolution. It's going to look kind of weird. When you combine tiles like this, combine the terrain objects, I think Unreal Engine actually does this like for you, but it just makes the terrain look 100 times better. So to apply the height map, be quiet, idea. To apply this height map, go back to the gear right here and scroll down, and you will see this right here: import raw, export raw. So go ahead and hit import raw. And it's gonna open this up. It's not gonna let you like drag and drop it in, which is kind of silly. But you're gonna go to Assets, Height Maps, and you're gonna select Test Height Map 0, and you're gonna hit Open. It's going to open up a dialog box. The height map was an 8-bit raw height map. Now, actually, it should. Don't ever assume this, but it should fill in values. Like it should know what the values of that height map file were, and it does. Every time I've done it correctly, it's done it for me. Always make sure it's on Windows 8-bit 513 513. Hit import. Oh, see how crazy that is? Look at that. That is insane. Now this is interesting. It actually applied the height map to each terrain object, which is weird. I've never seen that happen before. Anyways, it's all spiky and like just blown out. We need to go over here and reduce the height of the terrain height. If you hit enter, they will all be reduced. So as you can see, you're starting to get terrain. Now it's still a little spiky, and this can be changed in TerraGen or it can be changed in Photoshop. But let's go down to 50 and see what that looks like. That's a little bit better, as you can see. Now you still get like weird, like jaggedy shapes. We can fix that, and we will fix that in the future. But I'm going to go to Terrain 10 and see if I can go ahead and apply the next height map without it changing on the next one. And that didn't work. That's lovely. It is possible that these are duplicates of each other, and that might be the problem. So let's go ahead and delete 3 of them. I'm going to go back to 0, 0. I'm going to re-import the is that the right one? Yeah, 0, 0. Make sure that's in there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new one, and I think this might fix that weird problem. We're gonna make this terrain 10, and we're gonna go -500 on the Z, and then we're going to import that height map, and it worked. Obviously, its height is ridiculous, so go ahead and make its height the same height as the other terrain, which is 50. And look at that, it did not match up. Why did it not match up? As you can see, the terrain's not matching up. Let's see here. This happens sometimes. One way to see if it matches up in a different way is just drag it to another side. It doesn't really match up on any sides. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way that I was showing you. But this was worth a try. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so I don't know why I can't get it. I'm pretty sure you can get it to match up. I'm not getting it to match up properly. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way that I do it, and it should work just fine. I'm going to go to Generate Terrain, and let's not use Perlin Noise this time. I know what Perlin Noise looks like. We're not going to use it. It's kind of, I mean, as you can see, they actually did a pretty good job with it, but even if I smooth this down, it's going to be bubbly hills. In fact, I'll just smooth it real quick. Like, I'm going to sit here and smooth it, and then you see it's just kind of like got that weird bubbly look to it. I mean, it's alright, I guess. I think no matter what algorithm we use, it's going to have something like that, but this is just ridiculous. So, smoothing it down. Yeah. See, it's just kind of like that weird wowish type look to it. Anyways, we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and use Subdivide and Displace 2. I actually don't know what this algorithm does. It might use Perlin Noise. It looks like it uses Displacement 2D would be my guess. But this says this unlocks realism, smoothing, glaciation, and canyonism. We're going to go ahead and make the features smaller so that we get more onto one height map, because we're going to split that height map 4 ways. Glaciation 30 is fine. Canyonism, let's go ahead and go up to let's go to 60, see what that looks like. Let's use a random origin each time we're going to generate. So as you can see, this map is much larger. It might be too big. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. That should be good right there. Generate it a couple times until we get something we like. Let's actually smooth it out a little bit more so I don't have to do it too much smoothing in Photoshop. Generate. You kind of just keep generating until you get something you think would look cool. Maybe there's too much canyonism. I'm going to drop that down. That's a little bit better. Glaciation. Let's go with this one. So same thing, you're going to export it. Well, first you got to close this. Export it. Select file and save. This time you could just do test height map for now. Whatever you want to name it. Just so long as you can remember it. And this time we are going to go into... No, I'm good. We're going to go into open. Come on. File. Open. Text height map. Okay, so there it is. There is that really the one that we got? That doesn't look right. That doesn't look the same at all. That is not the same. Let's try this again. What the hell? This is very interesting. This does like that doesn't really look the same. Open test height map. No, let's close it and try reopening it again. New. Wow. Open. This might give me a problem, but let's try to go 1025. Yeah. It's just weird that it doesn't look the same. Maybe it just does look the same, we're just looking at it a little bit closer. In any case, we're going to go to image size. We're going to ramp this up to 1025 so that we can get... Actually, it's going to go 1026 on both sides. Hit OK. And then we're going to go ahead and drag these till they're halfway. They should snap. There we go. File, new. I'm going to open a new 513 by 513 image. We're going to go grayscale, 8-bit, white, pixels, and hit OK. And then here we go. So we're going to go ahead and select the top. Actually, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to do the bottom left. I'm going to copy that and paste it. Go ahead and name this terrain 00. Same thing. We're going to move this over to the right. Copy it. Paste it. Name this terrain 01, or sorry, 10, because it's 1 on the X, 0 on the Y. Move it again up to here. Copy. Paste. We're going to do terrain 11. And we're going to go to the left. Copy. Paste. Terrain 01. So now we have our 4 terrains. And then we're going to go ahead and save these out. Under height maps, we are going to save them out as Photoshop RAW. And then go ahead and save over, if you followed along before, go ahead and save over the previous ones. I believe these should be grayed out. If they're not grayed out, there's a problem. You need to make sure you're in grayscale mode. And then we're going to save out terrain 11. Terrain 10. And terrain 0. Sweet, that should be all of them. Now we go back into Unity. And we go ahead, we go back to the little gear over here on the terrain. We import the raw file, assets, height maps 00. Import it, and now this is what it looks like. Verify that. Okay, cool. Terrain 10, we need to go back to a 0x negative 500z, and then we are going to go back to the gear, and we're going to import the height map of 10. And I'm really close. It's really close. Not quite where it needs to be. I'll look into getting that merged, but for now this is good, and then I'll tell you how you can fix that. I know I can build a script to fix it as well, but yeah, you know what? I think I know what I could have done. We could actually do that now, or yeah, let's just do that now. Let's do it now before it's too late. Let's go here. We're going to deselect. We're going to go ahead and change the image size to 1025. Now, what this should do is they should be sharing a pixel in the middle. Let's go ahead and hit view clear guides real quick. There really should be no middle for this. Okay. Whoa. Let's not duplicate that. Okay. If you look at the pixels, yep, see how it's like right in the middle there? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna manually do this. So since this isn't like right on there, these are the pixels that they would share right down the middle. So go ahead and hit view clear guides. We're gonna do this manually. We're gonna go to the here. I'm gonna go to fixed size, and we're gonna make sure that this is 513 by 513, and we're gonna hit enter. That way, when we draw this, and we're gonna just pop it right in the corner. We're gonna verify that it's there. No, it's not quite. Sometimes, if it doesn't let you do, just hold down Control. I'm sure you know this already, but you can hold down Control and get that in there. Come on, scroll down. Oh my God, that was being silly. Okay. Come on, scroll. There we go. We can just go ahead and pop it right in the corner there. And now we can copy that. Go back to here, go to terrain. We'll just delete all these. Paste, terrain, 0, 0. When I build the terrain generator, you don't have to do any of this. But for now, it's going to help. Now it should be dead on. This is terrain 10. Sorry, this is a lengthy tutorial, but it covers it's going to cover terrain, all the terrain. Actually, I might, after the height map's applied, I'll do a separate video that's going to be like all the other stuff for terrain that you should really like. Terrain 11. And we're going to go over here. Copy, paste, terrain 01. And same thing as last time, we're going to save them as Photoshop RAW files as their correct name. 11, save that out. This is 10. And 0, 0. Alright, now if we go back to Unity, these should be matched up. Alright. I've had it before where you have to like re-import them. Like they keep reference to their old height map or something. Yeah, I even saw that one shift by like a pixel. And then this one will be 1, 0. I really hope that worked. Hey, look at that. Yeah. You can see a seam, like you can see where the seam is because the terrain's changed, like there's an edge there, but as you can see, they're pretty much mated up. When they're textured, you probably could still tell, maybe. We'll see. Like I said, with the terrain generator, I actually have a function that will fix this. You can set terrain neighbors, and since I know which neighbors are which, it'll actually go through here and it'll seam up the terrain. So, all right. So now to continue with the other ones, we're gonna go create another terrain object. Negative 500 on this one, and this one will be terrain 01. And then we're going to create another terrain object, and this one should just sit right where it's at, and it will be terrain 1, 1. Now if you go to terrain 0, 1, and as you could see before, like, you just can't duplicate them because they share reference to each other, so you gotta create a different terrain object each time. This one is 0, 1. Open that up, import. Again, the terrain height. And then 1, 1, we're going to import that. There we go. So now you have much more like spread out terrain. Your guy would be like way down here on the ground. And if you really want to, you can make the terrain larger. So like right now it's just 500 by 500. That is not affected by the height map. You can change that whenever you want. You just might want to scale your terrain height by that. In fact, real quick, I'll just do it. But you can go to like 0, 0. We'll make this 1,000 a piece for each one of them. This also means you'll have to move the terrain. Again, when I build the terrain generator, you'll be able to like generate 16 of these tiles and not even have to do any of this. You just get to do all like the fun creative stuff with it. Just make sure you change all these 500s to 1000s so that they're properly moved. Now, another reason I had you assemble this as children is because now if you want to move this entire terrain for some reason, you could just move the whole terrain as one thing. Again, the heights are now now that they're like bigger, you're gonna want to like ramp up these heights so that they have what they had before, because everything was doubled. And the final one, 100. Okay, so there it is. In my next tutorial, I will go over texturing, trees, rocks, and smoothing out this terrain, and then there may be a third tutorial that will go over like what you should add to terrain, so that game objects and characters and players can walk on them. Sorry if this video was terribly long. I kind of had to go over like 2 programs, and I was hoping to get it to work one way, and so we went back to another way, and then I had to edit the size. But as a quick review, TerraGen, size 513. Yes, whatever. Okay, size 513. Generate terrain, change your values, use random origin each time, generate it until you get one you like. For multiple terrain objects, you might want to put this on the smaller side. Export it as a raw 8 bits. Pull it into Photoshop. Make the image size bigger, because TerraGen, unless you pay for it, will only give you 513 as the max size. Make the size 1025. Go ahead and create a fixed size for your selection, 513 by 513. Get it in the corners. Copy paste them into another file that's 513. Save all of those out. Apply them to each terrain object. Make sure your terrain objects are moved in the right way, and they should meet up just fine like this. This will give you a lot more control. You can make multiple scenes with different types of terrain, see how you like each one, share them, record them. Yep. So this was the first part of the tutorial for building a world for fight or flight.